Howdy friends! So here we are at the top of our game that we've been working on. What we're going to do today is add the sprites for these stars, which is basically like a background, but it's a moving background. And it's going to be more complicated than this. So, well, I'll leave this for now, just so we have something to start with. Because let's see where we left off. Yep, there's stars in the background right now, and our ship, and our reticle, and we can't move yet. I'm hitting W right now and nothing's happening. So that's where we're at. And we have this subroutine, which allows us to generate our sprites. Now, here's a thought on how we're going to generate sprites. I have this random number. I don't remember if I've talked about this or not, but I have this random number called rand, and it's any integer between 1 and 1,000. Or I don't know if that's 0 inclusive or 1 inclusive, but basically you take a random decimal, which is that function, which is between 0 and 1, some decimal, and then you multiply it by whatever magnitude you're looking at, and then if you want an integer, you enclose all this in the integer function. And voila, you have a random integer from 0 to 1,000. And so basically what I can do with that is just say, hey, if it's in this range, we'll generate this sprite. If it's in that range, it's just some way to control randomly, so to speak, when each sprite is going to show up. So, stars, on the other hand, need to appear to be seamless. And so there's a bit of trickery that we do to try and do that. And to do that, I introduce a okay, let's look at how this is set up. There's two layers. One is a mirror image of the other one, so that they never align, and that would make the player a little bit suspicious of our programming skills. So one's a mirror of the other one, and they go at two different speeds to give you an illusion of depth. But we need to keep track of where they are in the cycle. And as far as I can tell, there are 4 cycles. This is actually my second time trying to record this video, because while I programmed it fairly easily, I found that I had trouble explaining the concept because it was just kind of an intuitive thing. And I'm an introvert, so I just kind of do things out of intuition and not really explaining logic. Which I don't know if that makes for the right stuff for a programmer, but nevertheless, that's me. So I'll try and do my best here, and you can try and follow along, but if not, I might just be typing random spurious stuff. So, star cycle is what I'll call it. Star cycle. And we'll go from 0 to 3. It'll have to have an initial value, so I'll go up to my initial variables at the top. Somewhere up here. Down here. Here they are. So I'll have a variable to keep track of star cycle 1 is 0 and star cycle 2 is 0. Okay, go back down. Whoops, I think I went past it. Here it is. So, when we're at the beginning of our cycle, and to make things simpler, let's just start with one layer, completely ignoring the other one, because I don't want to make you guys too confused. Okay? So, in this case, we have the y position equal to minus 1950. Why that number? Well, because the the entire star sprite is approximately that high. So if our variable for keeping track of the y height is greater than 0, not greater than or equal to, just greater than, then, oops, what did I do here? Then print number 1, add sprite, star 1, excuse me, this is star cycle 1, so this is our first layer, and we're going to use the bitmap called stars. And we're going to place star y1 at minus 1950. And you can do that because just basic doesn't care if you go outside the bounds of the window. So now star cycle is going to equal 1. And what does that mean for us? Whoops, star cycle equals 1. Now this means that we can, it just allows us for when the next time we have to make it, we can make it seamless. It's hard to explain. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone in for the first layer, all of the different cycles. And so another thing I added here is when we add a sprite that goes in the background, we want to raise the things in the foreground, so that's why we made this subroutine. Not that one. Raise foreground, this one. To the things that we care about, we want in the foreground. So basically we just have to add the sprites in the correct order. Okay, and so in the odd cycles, we take out a sprite that has gone off the screen. And the even cycles, we add a sprite where it's just about to come onto the camera. And not camera, the window, the screen. And so that's why we had to keep track of that stuff. And so the reason we needed 4 of them instead of just 2 of them is because we needed 2 sprites for each layer. Notice how I have 2 sprites here named star 0 and star 1. Well, that's because there's a seam that has to cross the screen at some point. And so it was a little tricky to take care of that. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a simpler way to do this. In fact, I'm quite positive there should be because, well, I don't know everything there is to this programming language. There's probably something that could take care of this in a couple of lines, really, like just scrolling a background, but I was too lazy to look it up, so this is what I came up with. And so now basically, you can basically just copy and paste this stuff. You just got to change numbers, like this goes to 2, and then just shift these numbers down to 2 and 3 instead of 0 and 1. And remember to mirror them because you don't want them to ever line up. And that's the basics of it. Let me do that quick. Actually, I'll just do this without even pausing because it shouldn't take too long. Control C, layer 2, Control V, star cycle 2, 2, 2, 2, 49. Just kidding. 2, 2, and 2. Okay, this is going brain numb here. I will pause this. In fact, I'm just going to stop the video here because there's really nothing we can test until we get down to... Have I not added the... Oh, sprite position. When we actually move the stars as a result of the hero moving, then we won't really know if it's working or not. So you got the gist of it, hopefully. I know it was a little bit confusing there, but that's pretty much how it's all going to work. So stay tuned for more awesomeness, and next time we will move the stars.